Hey teachers! So we heard that you are planning a trip with your kindergarten group to go to Franklin's Garden on the Toronto Island. The host there is Mark Cullen, who is a well-known gardener. The day will consist of activities, storybook reading, garden activities, and a pollinator relay race. Children will also be given a free discovery backpack. That's right, it's free, consisting of materials to help them with the exploration. This includes a map, a magnifier field guide, activity sheet, and junior binoculars. At the garden, students will explore how to plant, cultivate, and harvest different vegetables and flowers by digging in the dirt, sowing seeds, and watering plants in the Little Sprouts garden. This will help to emphasize the factors that assist in plant growth. The admission to the garden is free, but there is a cost associated with transportation. On this field trip, students will develop skills and competencies such as the ability to engage in an innovative and complex problem solving, as well as critical and creative thinking, and to work collaboratively with others as they learn through exploration, play, and inquiry. Definitely sounds like an interesting trip, but do you know all the work that goes into this trip? Well, let's see what needs to be done. First, we need to consider the cost. With the bus and the ferry, the cost is about $15.11 per student. The cost is a significant factor because we need to make sure that all students are financially able to go on the trip. If costs are too high, teachers have the option to create fundraising opportunities for students and staff in order to make the trip a little more affordable. In terms of other accommodations, we need to be cognizant of other students with special needs in the group. If there are students in wheelchairs, we need to make sure to accommodate them with transportation access on buses and the boat, both of which are possible on this trip. We need to assess the different paths that the students will take during the trip to make sure there are no barriers for their mobility and participation in activities. And because this location has been established for the purpose of learning, these factors have already been considered. As teachers, we need to always think about the different needs students have and how to best accommodate them. But even before considering the planning phase, OFIA guidelines need to be considered. There are three important guidelines that need to be considered for this trip. The first one is general procedures, which include the pre-trip considerations, ranging from suitability of excursion, approval of principal, consent of parents, credentials of outside provider, and prepping of students. The second is kindergarten and primary grades movement activities. At Franklin's Garden, movement activities involve exploring the garden, gardening, or taking the spiral walkway. There's also a wheelchair-accessible treehouse and a vine tunnel structure in the hide-and-seek garden. Third is the playground structure, which works to ensure that equipment is safe and appropriate. First aid kits are available, appropriate clothing and footwear are worn, facilities are free of hazards, students are instructed how to move safely, and there's liquid replacement to prevent dehydration. For the trip to Franklin's Children's Garden, we as teachers need to be aware of different hazards in order to minimize safety risks. One of the hazards that we need to be aware of is the terrain because students will be going on a boat for transportation. So we need to make sure that the adult to student supervision ratio is met. Kindergarten students do require one adult per 4 students. So for the purpose of this trip, assuming we have 24 students, we would require 6 adult supervisors. During the trip, the teacher will be at the front guiding the students, whereas the ECE will be the sweep at the end of the line. Prior to the trips, parents have been aware of what the students will be doing and to bring extra clothing in case the weather changes and to dress in layers. So it's also important to let parents know that students should bring enough food and water to avoid dehydration and ensure everyone has enough energy for the trip. One of the most exciting parts of this trip, though, is the countless curriculum connections that can be made. Students can begin their learning in the classroom, further explore concepts of the garden, and continue learning in the classroom. For example, as a pre-activity, students can explore what are insects and their role in the development of a garden. A possible post-activity can be to experiment with the different factors that can affect the growth of a plant, especially because this trip has been planned during the warmer days when students have the ability to explore in their own schoolyard. All this connects to what students will do at Franklin's Garden. The knowledge they gain about pollinators and gardening will allow them to apply it in their daily lives. For example, students may encourage their families to garden rather than buy food from the local grocery store. Moreover, the garden provides students with an environment to play, learn, and discover nature.